You grew up believing that the ideal woman is sweet, reserved, and gentle. That the one who speaks little is the purest. That the one who avoids exposure is the most trustworthy. But what if this whole image is, in fact, the perfect packaging for the slowest poison? The biggest lie in the attraction game was never about lust. It was about innocence. What destroys the modern man is not the bold woman who dances on the stage of vanity with selfies and filters. What ruins him is the one who whispers sweetness while honing her strategies in silence. The one who hides behind the archetype of the good girl while manipulating your every move with surgical precision. Because the real danger does not come from outside, it comes from what you believe to be safe. This is the most brutal contradiction of human nature. The male mind seeks peace, but desire is activated by risk. And when risk disguises itself as refuge, you give in. This is where the illusion of femininity takes hold. Think about it. You don't let your guard down when faced with an exuberant and seductive woman. No, you turn on your vigilance. Your brain knows there's danger there. But when she seems serene, shy, homely, almost an extension of your childhood dreams, that's when the warning system goes off. That's where she comes in. Femininity, when used as a disguise, is the most sophisticated form of emotional engineering. And the most insidious thing is that she doesn't have to say anything. It's what's unsaid that captures you. Nietzsche said that what is done out of love is beyond good and evil. But when that love is planted in illusory soil, what grows is emotional slavery disguised as deep connection. She seems sensitive, caring, withdrawn. But these characteristics, when intentionally choreographed, form an invisible shield, an impenetrable disguise. And the more you try to protect her, the more you give in. Because she makes you believe you've found something rare. She doesn't show off. She doesn't sell herself. She's different. But it's all rehearsal. A carefully written play to feed what you desire most, emotional exclusivity. Here comes a historical figure that many romanticize, Cleopatra. Seductive, yes. But her weapon was not only her beauty or intelligence, it was her control over the male imagination. She knew how to embody exactly what men were looking for, not because she was genuine, but because she understood the impact of the role she played. Cleopatra molded herself to the eyes of her target. Today, this skill is still alive. Only instead of palaces and crowns, she posts few posts on Instagram, basic clothes, a restrained smile, and phrases like, "I'm my own person." And that's enough for you to project onto her everything you've always sought. But the problem isn't her. It's you. It's your need for something pure in a world where everything is plastic. It's your illusion that the lack of exposure is synonymous with value. It's your childish desire to find a woman who will save you from loneliness, doubt, and constant competition. You want peace, but you choose beauty disguised as peace. And that's where your downfall begins. Because when you idealize the feminine woman, you don't see that she might be acting. You don't see that tranquility might be the silence before the blow. When you're in front of an extremely feminine, sweet, restrained woman, you feel like you can let your guard down, that you can open up, that you finally found someone out of the ordinary. But what few realize is that this image is often deliberately constructed, and every gesture is a code. She doesn't say, "Choose me." She leads you to believe that it was you who decided. She makes you believe that you found a miracle in a world of banalities. But the miracle was planned. You're not in love with her. You're in love with the fantasy that she let you create. And like every fantasy, the cost is high. This is where the metaphor of the wolf in sheep's clothing comes in. The most dangerous predator is not the one that advances. It's the one that approaches calmly. That waits. That studies. That learns your every loophole. And when it attacks, it doesn't tear your flesh, it corrodes your sanity. You put her on a pedestal, you call her different, and in an attempt to protect her, you lower your shield. But as Ortega y Gasset said, the combination of fascination and surrender is essential to the love that enslaves. And that's exactly what happens. You surrender to what fascinates you. But the fascination was an act. And now you're just another in the pile of egos shattered by the illusion of femininity. While you idealize, she operates. While you love, she calculates. And the cruelest thing? She does all this without losing her angel image. Because the most lethal woman is not the one who provokes. she's the one who hides. Not out of fear, but out of strategy. And when you finally realize that something was wrong, you're too trapped to react. You've already invested too much. You've already told everyone that she's the one who's worth it. Now pride prevents you from leaving, and she knows it. But calm down, because that was just the first poison. Now that you understand how the disguise is created, it's time to reveal how it's used. And what happens when you start investing emotionally in a woman who isn't reciprocating? She's just feeding your addiction. Let's take it one step further and enter the real minefield. You believe that love is an exchange, that if you care, she will care, that if you show interest, she will value it, that if you open your heart, she will do the same. But that's not how it works when you're dealing with a woman who operates within the matrix of emotional manipulation. Reciprocity in this game is temporary illusion used to pull you in and then leave you wandering in the desert of doubt. This woman doesn't want to love you. She wants you to become addicted to the hope of being loved by her. And the way she does it is so sophisticated, so meticulous, that you don't even realize you're losing yourself until you're already in the deep end. It all starts with scarcity. But not an aggressive scarcity, not an I'm too busy kind of scarcity. It's a subtle game of delays, silences, occasional absences. The text message that takes a long time to arrive. The response that arrives after 3 hours, for no clear reason. The sorry, I fell asleep, that appears often enough for you to doubt, but not often enough for you to confront it. This pattern creates a phenomenon known in psychology as intermittent reinforcement. It's the same mechanism used in slot machines. You never know when the reward will come, so you keep playing. You keep trying. You keep investing. And the more you invest, the harder it is to stop. Because now it's not about her anymore. It's about getting back what she once made you feel. This cycle is addictive, because every now and then, she gives you a glimpse of paradise. She calls you cute, smiles tenderly, compliments you on your care. And that's when you think, she's coming back, it's working, now let's go. But she doesn't. Because what she wants is not commitment. What she wants is control. And control is born of unpredictability. You never know what's coming next. You never know if she's happy with you or about to disappear. You never know if she's busy or just ignoring you. Robert Greene called this the art of innuendo, a seduction that doesn't give in completely but also never rejects, that flirts with the idea of intimacy without ever diving into it. And that is the cruelest blow. It gives you permission to dream, but not enough to rest. You live in a state of permanent emotional expectation. And when you try to confront it, it dodges you. It calls you intense, insecure, too sensitive. It inverts the blame. It transforms you from partner to persecutor. And at that moment, reality becomes distorted. You begin to doubt yourself, what you saw, what you felt, what you deserve. Here, her beauty becomes part of the poison. Because you have already shown her to your friends. You have already invested time, energy, stories. You have already defended her when they said she was cold. You called her unique, special. Now, recognizing that you have fallen into a trap hurts more than continuing in it. This is the minefield. Every step is a threat. Because if you advance, she retreats. If you retreat, she advances. And in the end, you are dancing alone. Trying to guess which version of her will appear today. And the most perverse? Many of these women don't do it out of malice. They do it because they've learned that this dance works. That keeping a man in a constant state of doubt is the best way to guarantee attention and validation without giving anything in return. It's the emotional version of leave him hanging and he'll come back better. And you do. Because you still believe you're building something, but she's not building. She's harvesting. This is where desire turns into servitude. And as Ortega y Gasset said, the person in love surrenders. But who are you surrendering to exactly? To a woman? Or to a narrative that she's carefully written and you've accepted as truth? What's crueler, outright abandonment, or the plot where you sabotage yourself thinking you're being loved? This type of woman doesn't yell, doesn't accuse, doesn't expose. She controls you through absence, dominates you through silence, makes you imagine, create theories, justify. And the more you rationalize, the deeper you sink. Because she doesn't have to do anything. She just lets you do everything. And she does it with pleasure. Because deep down, you still have hope. And that is the drug that destroys the most. Hope fed by small doses of calculated attention. You might think that this is an exception, but the truth is that the more feminine she is, the more potential she has to dominate this game. Because the more demure she is, the easier it is for her to become invisible on the radar of manipulation. You think she is not capable, that she is different, that she is not playing. But the game she plays is precisely to appear as if she is not playing. This is the most deadly trap. Because while you lower your defenses because you think you are safe, she is already in control. And when the game ends, you don't leave angry. You leave broken, confused, empty, and maybe ashamed. Because deep down you knew, but you didn't want to see it. Because the way she looked at you, responded to you, made you feel special. It all seemed so real. But it was just a performance. A plot designed to make you love and then leave you in the lurch. Not out of revenge, but out of habit. For emotional survival. For convenience. This is where many men shut down. They become cold, indifferent, angry. But that's not the way out. Because while you react with anger, she remains in control. The real antidote isn't revenge. It's clarity. The clarity that this type of bond was never love. It was an emotional prison to which you held the keys. Now that you've seen how the minefield is set up, it's time to build your mental armor. To learn to see the code behind the performance. Because only when you understand the pattern will you stop being manipulated by it. And that's exactly what we're going to do now. Break the spell. And show you how to turn the tables. There comes a point when a man needs to stop reacting. Stop trying to understand her every move, every silence, every ambiguous word. Because while you're trying to decipher signals, she's already 2 moves ahead. Or worse, she's not even on the board anymore. True power comes when you stop being a piece and become an architect. When you no longer play the game of validation, of expectation, of seeking reciprocity. You build your immune mind. You install an antivirus system against the feminine matrix. This doesn't mean coldness, it means clarity. The clarity that a woman who's worth it doesn't need to look feminine. She is feminine. And a woman who manipulates never loves. She needs you to desire her, but not for you to understand her. Because understanding breaks the spell. And it's only when you start seeing patterns instead of promises, behaviors instead of intentions, that you finally turn the tables. The immune mind begins with a simple shift in position. You stop being the spectator of female behavior and become the author of your own narrative. You stop asking yourself, what does she want? And start asking yourself, why does this affect me so much? The first step to immunity is self-control. Because manipulation only works where there is need. It only triggers pain where there is expectation. It only destroys those who have opened up without a shield. And here comes a little talked about but extremely powerful strategy. Strategic detachment. Don't confuse it with indifference. Strategic detachment is the ability to observe, interact, seduce, without projecting, without tying your ego to her validation. It's the ability to maintain your composure even when she disappears, even when she tests your limits, even when she tries to change the frame of the conversation. Because whoever has a frame is in charge. And a frame is nothing more than the narrative that you believe and defend about yourself. If she throws you off track with an emoji or an absence, she is in charge. If you react, she wins. But if you observe and choose not to move, you are the one who sets the rules. This stance is rare because it requires you to feel valuable before anyone else will validate it for you. But it is precisely this type of man who attracts and disarms any woman who lives off manipulation. Because she is used to control, she is used to men who react. But when faced with someone who sees her completely and still doesn't give in, she goes into internal collapse. Because you didn't fall for it. Because you didn't take the bait. Because you simply didn't need it. And here's the biggest secret. Women respect the man they can't manipulate. Not the arrogant one, not the cold one, but the centered one. The man who sets boundaries with kindness. Who listens more than he talks. Who disappears when he feels dissonance, not for the sake of playing games, but out of self-respect. This is the man she will remember, who she will revere, or fear, or both. So stop asking for love from someone who only knows how to give control. Stop seeking security in sweet gestures and measured words, and start building your inner fortress. An immune mind is not a closed mind, it is a lucid mind. One that knows that not all that glitters is gold, not all sweetness is love, and not every woman who seems perfect is harmless. Your value is not defined by how much she responds, surrenders, disappears, or stays. Your value is defined by how much you remain you, even in the face of the greatest of illusions. When you understand this, the game changes. Because now it is no longer her trying to trap you, it is you deciding whether it is worth letting her in. And when the game is in your hands, my friend, the matrix falls apart. Because you are no longer inside it, you are above it.